Today we are carrying on with our lessons on Fortunately the Milk. But before that, we're going to start off by doing a little bit of a grammar task just to get our brains going a little bit more. It's something we have done in school already, but it's just something we're just going to touch on a little bit more to refresh your memory. Okay, so we're looking at or an. So when we use these in a sentence, what's the right time to use them? So using or an. So which of these nouns needs an or before it? So you need to have a look at these words. Which one do you think we would put an before or So if I was writing a sentence, would I put I saw an elephant at the zoo, or I saw an elephant at the zoo? So which one would make sense? Or I bounced a ball or an ball, which one would make more sense? So for this, if we have a look, so for elephant, we would use an. You'd say, I saw an elephant at the zoo. For this one, I'd say, I bounced a ball. I am wearing a hat. So the only one here which I would use an for is elephant. So have a look at these words. Why do you think elephant is the only one which we would use an for and not a? I want you to hold that in your head and have a think. You might want to pause so you can think of a sentence to explain why you think elephant is the odd one out before we move on to why. Okay, so we use an when the noun starts with a vowel or a vowel sound. So it has to start with a vowel sound. So usually we'll see a vowel there, but sometimes it's not necessarily a vowel. So vowels are A, E, I, O, and U. But sometimes if it's a vowel sound, it might be a different letter, or sometimes even if it is a vowel, if it doesn't sound like a vowel, we might not use an. It's quite a complicated one to get used to. So let's have another look. So for this one, all of these start with U. Okay, so they all start with a vowel. Now have a look and have a think. Now say them to yourself and try using them in some different sentences. Which ones of these words do you think would use a, and which ones would use an? So you've got umbrella, unicycle, and umpire. So pause here, have a little think, write down which one you would use an for and which one you would use a for. So which one is the odd one out? One of these is different to the others. Okay, hopefully you're ready to take a look. So let's have a look which one our odd one out was. The odd one out was a unicycle, because an umbrella and an umpire both start with the sound, whereas a unicycle starts with the U sound. So it doesn't have the same vowel sound. So a unicycle is difficult to ride. Although unicycle begins with a vowel, the sound is not a vowel sound. The U makes a Y sound. Okay, so it sounds more like a Y, so like U. It's a unicycle. Okay, so the rule about using an or a is you use an before a word that starts with a vowel sound. So for example, an elephant starts with an an umbrella starts with an but then there's also other ones which don't start with an actual vowel letter. Some of them may start with a H, so an hour. So hour does not start with a vowel, but it does start with a vowel sound. So hour sounds like the OU sound. So it is a little bit trickier because there's certain words which don't begin with a vowel but do have a vowel sound. Generally, we look at does it begin with a vowel, does it have a vowel sound, to make it a little bit easier for us. So let's have a look. Your task now will be to pause in a few moments so that you can have a look and sort these groups of nouns into a or an. So you might want to write a table. You could put a on one side, an on the other, and underneath write down all the different things. Or you might put just write down all of the ones starting with an in a circle and all the ones starting with a in a circle. So however you want to set this out, can you sort these different nouns now into groups which one you use an and which ones you would use a? So pause here to have a go at that. Okay, hopefully you're ready to your answers. Let's go. So the answers are shown below. So all the ones which you'd use an are an umbrella, because it's an an apple, an A sound, an hour, as in an hour of the day, and an eagle, an E. Okay? The ones that will begin with an A is a chair, a hand, a dog, a cat, and a UFO. Again, the U starts with a vowel, but it's not a vowel sound. It's more like a Y. Okay, so that was just a little bit of a refresher to see how you did with that, and hopefully see if you can apply that in your writing as we get going. It's something that does trip us up when we get writing. Sometimes we do miss and just put a for everything, and it doesn't quite work. So it's just something that we need to be aware of while we're doing our writing. So let's move on today. So we're going to do a little recap of the story before we get on with the next part that we're reading. So far, the family ran out of milk. It was breakfast time, so Dad went to the shop to buy some more. The children waited at home and Dad took a really long time. When Dad returned, he started to explain why he'd taken so long. He was abducted by aliens onto their ship. They wanted Dad to give them the Earth so that they could redecorate it in silly ways, but Dad escaped through an emergency exit and he jumped. We don't know where he landed. So let's carry on our story to find out a bit more. I was falling. Fortunately, I had kept tight hold of the milk, so when I splashed into the sea, I didn't lose it. What was that? Said a woman's voice. A big fish? A mermaid? Or was it a spy? I wanted to say that I wasn't any of those things, but my mouth was full of seawater. I felt myself being hauled up on the deck of a little ship. There were a number of men and a woman on the deck, and they all looked very cross. What a fantastic picture. With all of the pirate crew, you might just pause and have a little look. Really interesting picture, this. Who be ye, landlubber? Asked the woman, who had a big hat on her head and a parrot on her shoulder. He's a spy, a walrus in a coat, a new kind of mermaid with legs, said the men. What are you doing here? Asked the woman. Well, I said, I'd just been to the corner shop for some milk for my children's breakfast and for my tea, and the next thing I knew... He's lying, Your Majesty. She pulled out her cutlass. You dare lie to the Queen of Pirates? Fortunately, I had kept tight hold of the milk, and now I pointed to it. If I did not go to the corner shop to fetch milk, I asked them, then where did this milk come from? At this, the pirates were completely speechless. Now, I said, if you could let me off somewhere near to my destination, I would be much obliged to you. And where would that be? Said the Queen of Pirates. At the corner of Marshall Road and Fletcher Lane, I said. My children are waiting there for their breakfast. You're on a pirate ship now, my fine bucko, said the Pirate Queen. And you don't get dropped off anywhere. There are only two choices. You can join my pirate crew or refuse to join, and we will slit your cowardly throat, and you will go to the bottom of the sea where you will feed the fishes. What about walking the plank? I asked. Never heard of it, said the pirates. Walking the plank? I said. It's what proper pirates do. Look, I'll show you. Do you have a plank anywhere? It took some looking, but we found a plank, and I showed the pirates where to put it. We discussed nailing it down, but the Pirate Queen decided it was safer just to get the two fattest pirates to sit on the end of it. Why exactly do you want to walk the plank? Asked the Pirate Queen. I edged out onto the plank. The blue Caribbean water splashed gently beneath me. Well, I said, I've seen lots of stories with pirates in them, and it seems to me that if I'm going to be rescued... At this, the pirates started to laugh so hard their stomachs wobbled, and the parrot took off in the air in amazement. Rescue? They said. There's no rescue out here. We're in the middle of the sea. Nevertheless, I told them, if you're going to be rescued, it will always be while walking the plank. Which we don't do, said the Pirate Queen. Here, have a Spanish doubloon and come and join us in our piratical adventures. It's the 18th century, she added, and there's always room for a bright, enthusiastic pirate. I caught the doubloon. I almost wish that I could, I told her, but I have children, and they need their breakfast. Then you must die. Walk the plank. I edged out to the end of the plank. Sharks were circling. So were piranhas. And this was where I interrupted my dad for the first time. Hang on, I said. Pirates are a freshwater fish. So what are they doing in the sea? Oh, you're right, said my father. The piranhas were later. Right, so I was out at the end of the plank, facing certain death, when a rope ladder hit my shoulder and a deep, booming voice shouted, "Quickly! Climb up the rope ladder!" I needed no more encouragement than this, and I grabbed the rope ladder with both hands. Fortunately, the milk was pushed deep into the pocket of my coat. Okay, that's all we're reading for today. So, for today's tasks, we're going to be focusing on the pirates, but I'm going to let you decide which task you would like to do. You have two options to choose from. So, your first option is to write a character description about the Queen of Pirates. I've given you her picture here to have a look at. So, you can do this by looking back at your description of the aliens from a couple of weeks ago. I'll put my example in this piece of writing, on this video so that you can have a look at what kind of thing I'm hoping you will produce. Or you can go back to that video for a step-by-step, but you would write about this character instead. So rather than the aliens, you're writing about this pirate queen because she looks pretty cool. So that's your first option. So a character description about the pirate queen. So here is my example of our aliens one. So if you remember, we focused on doing a nice list sentence with some adjectives. We used who to explain something more about them. We did an expanded noun phrase. We put a simile in there. We did a to-place sentence. We did two different prepositional phrases and another expanded noun phrase. We started with a fronted adverbial for manner, and then we did a prepositional phrase again. As though he was melting, and that would be a simile again. And then we've got two more expanded noun phrases. So that is a 2A sentence where we describe one adjective, one noun even. So his brow, we describe with two adjectives, and then we describe another noun with two more adjectives. So that's the kind of thing that I would hope you would write about our pirate queen, if you choose to do the character description. So hopefully you can use all those different skills to write a lovely character description about this lady. Okay, your second option is to write a short story about the pirate queen and her crew. So you could write about what they were doing before the dad came on board, or you could do about what they did after. So once he vanishes, what did they do next? You don't have to mention the dad at all. You could just write a story about them and her crew on an adventure. So it could be set well before this happened or well after, and you don't need to mention the dad whatsoever. But I'd like you to write a story about the pirates. Please make sure you write in paragraphs now. Here, I've given you an example of what you might put in those 5 paragraphs, because I'm hoping for 5, if we do an introduction, a bit of a build-up, something, a problem or something exciting happening, we resolve the problem, and then we have an ending. Okay, so in my introduction, I'm going to introduce the crew and where they're going. So you might want to give her a different name rather than Pirate Queen. She might be called something different. You might name a few of the people that she's with. You might talk about her parrot. So introduce who they are and where are they going. So you might put something like, at first light, the Pirate Queen and her dastardly crew set off to Skull Cove in search of the lost treasure. I don't know, something like that. And then you go from there and you describe her crew a little bit more. After that, you might want to then go into describing the journey. So what happens on their journey? What kind of things do they see? What's the weather like? Do they have any huge storms that they have to deal with? So where do they go? Where do they travel to? And then something exciting needs to happen. So this could be anything. So you could have that after they have found some treasure and they've picked up some treasure somewhere, that they end up getting into a battle with another ship. You could write about them finding the treasure, but whilst they are finding it, they have to avoid some traps or avoid some animals, or she has to fight off some animals or something like that. So what exciting thing might happen in your story? Then once you've done that, your next paragraph, you would write that they got back to the safety of the ship. They're back on their ship nice and safe, and they sail away from wherever they had just been. They sail away from the other ship that they were fighting, or the island, or the sunken treasure chest, or whatever it might be. And your final one, so what happens next? Where do they go next? So do they carry on sailing off into the sunset off to their next adventure? Do they return to a lovely desert island where they live and they keep all their stuff? So what happened next? So anything. I just would like a nice story about the pirates and their crew. So anything that they do, I think it'd be quite a nice task for you to get on with. I hope you enjoy this one. So I'm looking forward to reading your work once you've had a go at the tasks. If you have done one of the tasks and you enjoyed it, you could always have a go at the other ones. If you choose to do the character description and you enjoy that and you think you've done a good job, but you want to do a little bit more, you could always have a go at writing the pirate story, or vice versa. If you write the pirate story and think, oh, you know what, that's given me lots of really good ideas, well, now I want to describe that pirate queen, and you could think about how you could describe her in a lot of detail, because her outfit had lots of skull and crossbones and stripy tights and a huge hat, and she had really big hair, and the parrot, and you could top it all with the fantastic colours in that, and it'd be a really nice one to write your character description about. Okay, so make sure that you email myself or Miss Lofthouse with your work so that we can see. We do really like seeing what you're getting up to and seeing how you get on with the tasks. Or you can take a picture and upload it to the school's Twitter. We do also check that, so please, get in touch. We do like to see what you're up to. I will see you on Thursday for our next English lesson. Bye.